At this time, exactly 1 year ago, we were in shock, some distraught. A Baltimore police homicide detective was shot in the head and would later die.
It's perhaps the most notorious death of the year, but more than that, it was a dark and seminal moment for this city. And still, though, a year later, here we sit, and we still don't know what happened that night, what happened that day. WMAR 2 News investigative reporter Brian Kubler has been working on this story since it started. He's been working on it for a year now, and he tells us what we know and what we don't.
This is Sean Suter, not the detective, not the cop, just a husband acting funny just days before his death.
Did you take this?
Yes.
When you took it, did he know you were taking it?
He didn't.
So why'd you take it? Or like tell
because
me like
because he just so goofy. So I just caught him.
It's the last moment between husband and wife, a moment memorialized in the last text exchange on Nicole Suter's phone. It is just about the only thing that still brings a smile to her face after a year she described to us last month has been total hell.
How do you say homicide, then try to come back and change it to suicide? Sean was a good man. And for people to try to tear his legacy down like that, it hurts. Yeah, he was a good man.
Nicole Suter is still struggling with loss while fighting for her late husband's legacy. She calls the Independent Review Board's conclusion that Sean Suter ended his own life BS. She says not only was she never interviewed, neither were his closest friends and colleagues. She also has a problem with the board's chief theory that Suter chose to work with a junior homicide detective that day to canvass Bennett Place on one of Suter's old cases, an unwitting partner so the experienced homicide detective could more easily kill himself in an alley. But WMAR 2 News obtained internal police documents last month that, in fact, show junior detective David Bomenka had the more immediate reason to be on Bennett Place that day. It was Bomenka's August 2017 murder case of 15-year-old Jeffrey Quick that had a homicide operations team searching for and trying to convince a witness on the 900 block of Bennett Place to come in and be interviewed. Police documents date that interaction as 11/15/17, the day Suter was shot. Sources say Bomenka was then instructed to convince the witness himself and take Suter to the block with him.
Everybody had conflicting stories.
At the very least, Nicole Suter says these documents question the IRB's theory and their unanimous conclusion of suicide. But since August, that report has held this family in limbo as the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner says it is still reviewing whether or not to formally change the manner of death for Sean Suter.
That report didn't mean anything to me. As far as the suicide, it meant nothing to me. Like my husband didn't take his own life.
You're 100% positive about it.
100%. I put my own life on that. My husband did not take his own life.
And so, draped in Justice for Sean Suter t-shirts, this family leans into the year mark with no concrete answers, hoping to beat back this suicide theory and push the Baltimore Police Department to find the suspect Nicole says murdered her husband a year ago. And so, on this year mark of the shooting of Sean Suter, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner says the manner in which he died is still, quote, under review. The Baltimore Police Department, meanwhile, told us today that it does not have a comment on the investigation.
1 year ago today.